Hi guys. So today we'll be talking about myself. I'll be running you through my teenage journey, how it is for me, how it was for Hi guys. So today we'll be talking about my personal life experiences, how it was for me as a teenager, growing up, and how I was able to relate and transition through my teenage years. All right. So I remember at the age of 13, we had just lost our home, and then we moved down to some place in Abuja, which was almost uncompleted. Right, so I quite enjoyed the early phase of my years. Now transitioning to a teenager, we're homeless, and it was really tough, and the family was struggling at that time. Right, so while growing up, no one really paid much attention to me at that stage because ends needed to meet. Now, when I discovered that I had a problem was when I saw that I was being rude to my elderly ones, and my dad brought my attention to it. And so, at the age of 13, I became conscious of my appearance. I became conscious of people around me, of things that I needed to be neat. I was very rough as a kid. But growing up, I started to discover that I was becoming attracted to the opposite sex, and a lot of change was going on at that particular point in time. And my teenage years was very fast, really. There was really nothing much to do other than doing carving your hair and then relaxing your hair. I wasted so much time, and I didn't get to know much about myself until I was 19. And at the age of 19, it was difficult at that point because I'd already packed extra luggages such as low self-esteem. I was not able to do public speaking. During my secondary school days, I'm not sure I had the opportunity to ever stand in front of the class to maybe teach or answer a question. But that's a talk for another day. So I'd already had extra baggages such as low self-esteem. And then I discovered that at that age, I loved to talk much. I loved to counsel people and then give people advice. But it was too late. It was at the age of 20, I became conscious of myself. I became conscious of the world around me. I became conscious of the fact that I needed to be better. Now, I'm sharing this story because this is what most teens face, because what is a cliche that the environment brings? At the age of 13, you begin to grow pubic hairs, then you have facial hairs, and it creates the norm. What is the norm? You start to get attracted to the opposite sex, and after all of that attraction, you have maybe one or two boyfriends and girlfriends, and that's it. It becomes a roller coaster, and then series of mistakes begin to happen. The opportunity I didn't have during my teenage years, which is the formative years, was I didn't know who I was. I didn't really understand what identity meant. I didn't know my purpose. In fact, I discovered my purpose at the age of 25. Right? I didn't know my purpose. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing at that time. I didn't even understand the fact that I was transitioning, not just physically and emotionally, but also mentally. How could I have been aware? I was never told. I never took life seriously, right? I just took it one day at a time, right? And that was how it went from one struggle to the other. It was really, really terrible for me because I made bad friends. I made bad companies. I remember I used to have a clique back in secondary school. All of the things I never wanted to do, the friends that I had actually made them to do. The bad things which I did, I learned from a friend, right? It wasn't an independent stuff. You see, that's it. A child in their teenage years is like an empty hard disk drive that you can put a lot of information and wisdom into. And during those years, if you don't get the important facts into that, empty hard drive, you're going to get a lot of junks that people from outside world, people who don't understand what it means to have values, people who don't understand what it means to be dignified and actually be comfortable in your own skin, to discover who you are, what you're meant to do, who you're meant to be. They'll be the ones installing things on that hard drive. And that was what happened for me. It took many years to format the issues that was actually downloaded on my hard drive. So times when you see teens around you behaving in a certain way, it simply means that you're either not doing enough or they're getting all sorts of wrong information from the wrong sources. And this is what affects their behavior towards people around them. You discover that in the early teenage years, when they begin to transform, they begin to form habits such as seclusion. They want to be secluded. They don't want to relate with people at times, and they become rude and conscious of their appearance. That's when they want to make up for the ladies. That's when they want to go out and then keep new friends, visit friends. And then for the guys, that's when they want to play football and all of that. As much as that isn't, a bad idea, you necessarily have to always put, good things in that hard drive. Now that's from the perspective of the parents. Now, from the perspective of the teen, the formative years is not the year where you just waste around to meet and create all kinds and manner of friends. It's a time where you introspect and make the right friends. Just as I always tell the teenagers in my church, that the teenagers at the teenage years, it's a season of their life that they should never play with. It's a season of their life where they should gather a lot of information that actually aligns with the purpose and the will of God. It's a time when they should walk out that which God has deposited in them, because there is actually value that is deposited in every child. Every child is valuable, even more than $1 billion, right? So it's a time to actually walk in and walk out a lot of things, right? So it's a time for parents and those in teenage ministry to pay attention to them, not just to force them or to give them punishments alone, right? It's a time to really create time for them, speak and bond with them. I remember having a conversation with my friend in 2014 who said teenagers are basically adults in children bodies, or children in adult bodies, right? So it's a time where a lot of children struggle, because basically they are transitioning from being a child to becoming an adult, right? So that is when they become self-aware, and self-awareness is very important to discovering your purpose and your identity. So that's just my take and my experience on that.